so we're going to transition here to the series segment. And Caleb, you've balled out, so we're going to keep you on if that's all good with you, homie. Alright, so for my ad segment, I'm going to try to be a little serious here. It's going to be about 5 minutes. And it's going to be something I've pre-prepared, like I have today, with my stack of papers that I keep clipping so I sound professional, because that's all my podcasters that I listen to do. So, this week I'm going to start off by reading what I wrote. So, what do you think is the most famous verse in the world, Caleb?
I would say the most I've heard is John 3:16.
Yeah, that's what I have down. Well, John 3:16 is arguably the most important and famous verse in the world. I think it might be replaced soon. Can you guess what it might be replaced by?
I don't know.
So, as I'm scrolling through, you see all these people with their bios. And this is important to the lesson. You see all these bios, and they got this one verse, and it is Philippians 4:13. Let me find it here in my notes so I can read it. And Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now that's a great verse, and that's an important verse. But what people are doing now, and what it seems like, is they call themselves Christian. They got it in all lowercase letters in their bio, and then they throw in that verse just because it's, how can you get mad at that verse? It's basically just, saying, I can do all things. Right?
Yep. True.
But in reality, John 3:16 is a much more important verse, because it's about God's grace. See, John 3:16 says, For God so loved the world that he gave us his only begotten Son, so that we could live for him. No, I botched it. Oh, Awana was so long ago. I do remember for God so loved the world that he sent his one begotten Son. For whoever lives in him will not perish, but will live forever. But that's more important.
Now we're not here to point fingers either. If Philippians 4:13 is important to you for a personal, that's great.
What? Enough about all that. It's just the lesson today is it's usually Philippians 4:13 is usually interpreted as I can do all things, and people are so quick to forget that it says I can do all things through Christ. In today's age, people call themselves Christians and shove into this verse in their bio and move on with life. Now, when you watch the video, for some reason that I'm recording, you will see that I am currently wearing a black and white shirt that has on Philippians 4:13. Hypocritical of me, I know, but I chose to keep this shirt on today for this reason. Because it is an important verse, but I want people to remember why it is so important. I want them to remember the real reason. Because it doesn't say humans can do all things through themselves. We don't have that power. We just don't. But we do with God. What do you think?
I think you pretty much summed it up right there.
And the other thing, we kind of talked about this early in the episode, but I kind of want to hark back to the pastors in China. If they are able to go about launching underground churches, and you've heard the stories of which they're huge, in which they have like 1,200 members and such. Huge. How do you keep that secret? And the sad thing is normally they can't. Someone kind of snitches them out and bad things happen. But think about it. Under the laws there, you can die if you're caught. But they still host these huge underground churches. Right?
Yep, it's true.
So the thing I want to bring you today is if they can overcome that problem, then, really I'm not trying to be like mean and be like, you got no excuse, bro. These people are dying. But I'm not going to pull that because if you've grown up in a ministry home at all, you've heard those stories before. And they make you feel bad or all that. And that's not what I'm going for here. I'm more going for the point that if you think about it, we have the most powerful ally in the universe, in God. Nothing can overpower him. Nothing can stop him. Am I right, Caleb?
Yep.
So no matter what you're going through, it could be mental illness. I have multiple family members who suffer from depression. Right? You can watch it. Some weeks they'll be totally fine and they'll just go about living life. And the next weeks, you talk to your siblings and your parents and you're like, hey, we need to watch them. All right? They're just not doing that great. Just keep an eye on them. Help me watch them so we can make sure they stay good and healthy together.
That's right.
And that's rough. And I personally have mental health issues that I have to deal with on a daily basis. And I'm not going to lie, it sucks. But you got to go through it. If you have it. If you don't, lucky you. Am I right, Caleb?
Yeah. As someone who's dealt with a lot of depression issues in the past, yeah, you're right.
I mean, it sucks, but you got to remember that you have the most powerful ally at your back. And rather it be, mental health, we already mentioned that, or a rough schedule. Maybe your classes just suck. You're in algebra, then you got calculus or geometry. I mean, I don't know how you get that awful schedule, but chemistry. Me and my friend were both done or currently in chemistry. No offense to people of chemistry, but it's hard. I met with him just the other day, and we were both like, what are moles? Why do I need to know what a mole is? It's never going to be useful. If I want to know how much something weighs, I'll put it on a scale.
Moles crawl through your yard.
Someone's like moles. I'm like, oh yeah, the thing digging out my yard where I roll my ankle because I stepped on their tunnel. That's what we think of because we live out in the Goonies. I live in a suburb, but I'm in Indiana. It's all cornfields, let's be honest.
We live 45 minutes from the nearest Walmart.
Oh gosh, that's rough.
There are more moles than people around here.
The mole to human ratio is a little different there than in most parts of the country or world.
Exactly.
And again, to harp back to the lesson, I just, whether you're going through physical problems, you broke your foot or your hand, or in my cases, you have 2 crippled, mangled fingers because you've broke your pinkies more times than you can count. Or in Caleb's case, list whatever you want.
I broke my knee, places. That's all I have to say. Besides that, I was born with a heart defect, so I've had 1 or 2 heart surgeries.
Wait, what do you mean 1 or 2?
Well, they went in the first time and fixed one issue, and then went in a second time. So this is how it went. So they basically killed me. So I had a controlled death, so they could work on my heart. So for about 10 minutes, I was lifeless when I was about 2 weeks old, and they did a heart surgery at a narrowing in my aorta, and then after they had done that, fixed that up, they found another problem. I forget where it's at. And they had to fix that. So because of that, I also have a leg discrepancy, which makes my right leg 2 inches shorter than my left. If you want to try it out, let's stand on a full water bottle with one leg, and that's how it feels. But just like you said, each person deals with their own issues. Whether it's broken fingers, mental illness, or mental, stuff like that. I guess everybody has their own issues, and you just have to push through it.
Hark back to Caleb. I'm not going to try to, make him sound fantastic, but I've known him since we were 1 year old. All right, he's the son of my mom's college friend, and so we've known each other all our life. And I've just watched him. He plays basketball on that shorter leg. And I want you to imagine, you're running and you have one leg shorter than the other. All right, we just can't imagine that. But I've watched him. He's played basketball games. He swims competitively. This dude has not let those health issues that he just lists stop him. And I'm not discrediting him, but I think that just shows how powerful God is, that he's been in his life. And even with these, rough actual, like, real problems. He's overcome that, and you swim for your team and all that.
Definitely.
I mean, he's an inspiration. You should be on a motivational speaking platform somewhere. That's why I gave him this podcast.
And I'm coming from me. I'm gonna say, no, it's not easy. It may sound easy, but it's not. It's for people who have issues like that, or their own big problems. It's not easy getting through it. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say, keep your chin up, kid, just keep going, because it's hard. It's really hard, and there's some tears, there's sadness, there's struggle. It's hard, but you just try and keep your head up.
Heard back to him what he was just saying. I've been with him after a game in which he comes home, and I'm like, hey, you want to go do this? And he's like, I can't. And I'm like, okay, is it your knee? And he's like, yeah. And he's got an ice pack on his knee. But as a friend, I respect that. And I just watched him run up and down the court for an hour. I'm not going to make him do anything, so we sit and play video games like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah!
So we got off topic a bit. But I think we made our point, And, just to harp back, this is supposed to be a serious segment, and it actually ended up being our best segment. But, I'm a grandson of a pastor, and I've gone to churches, and I've done a little bit of pastoring, not the flex, because it was not great. I was like 8 years old. It's not pretty. Have you ever seen an 8-year-old get up on stage and speak? It's not good. It's not.
Nope.
But I'm now older. My voice is at an octave in which you don't want to cut off your own ears. So I'm kind of doing what I want to do now. And so what I'm going to go back to my notes is, the verse is, I can do all things through Christ, not I can do all things through Addison. I can do all things through Caleb. I can do all things through insert your name. That's not how the verse goes. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. He gives you strength. He gives you endurance. He gives you the ability to overcome your problems. So I'm going to harp back to that. So next time you hit a wall, next time you face your giant, remember that you have an ally in your corner who's bigger than that problem, who's more powerful than that person you're about to go up against. He's bigger than all those things. I mean, he created that thing. He created that person. He created that subject in school that you're struggling with. Just remember, you got this ultimate guy in your corner who never will leave you. The Bible says he will never forsake you. So I just want you to remember that as you go throughout your week. Caleb, you got anything you want to say?
No, just, he was willing to die for you. That just for you. In everyone. And anyone who's willing to accept him, he died for you. He didn't do it expecting something back. Just that you love him just as much as you love your mom, your dad, sister, brother, grandparents, best friend. He wants you just as much as they want you.
Even more, it says.
Right?
No, just remember that. The guy who went up on that awful wooden cross and died for you is the guy in your corner. The guy who overcame death, he's the one in your corner. So as you go throughout your week, just remember that. Love you guys. See you next week. Remember, this is A2Y. I'm your host, Addison Young, with
Caleb Green. Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you next week.